If you have many ideas, but you don't know how to put them all together so that they make sense, not only to you, but also to others who are listening to you, who depend on your work, your expertise to move on with the project, like teammates, maybe sometimes managers, team leads, and so on. So how can we give structure to something that is, I would say, messy by definition, because our ideas are messy. So I remember doing the exercise of following my thoughts while I was running a model for my PhD. I was doing some modeling, mathematical modeling, and I remember just, okay, let's follow your thoughts. And the way I was thinking was so, like, becoming aware of this. If you have never done this exercise, I totally recommend it. Like, how fast our brain is able to process information and how quickly it creates mess. That's something that I will never cease to be astonished with, because it's really, really, I would say, astonishing and scary at the same time. So how do we put structure into that? What I see from my clients, and they actually tell me this all the time, like, there is so much mess and it becomes very, very messy very, very quickly, especially when you have to solve a problem. Or I think STEM work is like that, you know, we work in these abstract terms of algorithms, protocols, experiments, models, and so on. But since we know what it means, it can really become very messy very, very fast. So how do we provide some structure? What clearly doesn't work is just vomiting data to other people the way you are thinking. So this clearly doesn't work. And I think we have many examples of that, especially when it comes to our teachers, our professors. Like, we all had those teachers that were brilliant at their work. However, when the time came to explain that work and to explain that expertise to other people, they were a complete disaster. And I say that this is, unfortunately, the majority of the cases when it comes to STEM professionals. And to back up this data, I would just like you to think about the conferences you attend and which percentage of presentations and talks you actually understand. And I would say the percentage would be quite low if we would ask people, interview them, like, okay, can you explain what this talk was about? I think that the percentages would be very, very, very low. So how can we provide structure? How can we make sure that we do not vomit data to people and that people actually understand the thing that we're doing? The best way to do so is something that I always advise my client to, and we train that actually in my coaching program. We do what it is called the guided tour. So it is your job to be the tour guide for the people who are sitting in the audience, for the people who are reading your paper, reading your thesis, or reading your maybe grant proposal, because they want to feel guided. They are not living in your brain. They do not know how to handle that mess. You know, the situation when you would have your room messy and your mom would tell you, like, you are never going to find anything there, and you say, no, my mess, I know my mess, I know how to function in the mess. Which is true to some extent. However, other people don't really know how to function in your own mess. So it is your job to provide them what I like to call a guided tour throughout your thinking process. And this is done by thinking about them, thinking about what is it that they need. In normal situations, they typically need context, examples, and impact. You need to provide them context. You need to tell them what is it that you are actually doing and why should they even care about it? Why should they even bother to listen to you? Secondly, the best way and the best asset is always examples. The more tangible, the better, because STEM work is often very, very abstract. So the way we can use and really make our work more tangible and more palpable, more approachable to others is by providing examples. So I would always suggest, and I tell my clients that all the time, really have a bunch of examples already like ready to go. So whenever people ask you something, you can say, oh, but this is exactly like this. Like, can you imagine, I don't know, a network. What is a network? Imagine people connected on Facebook. Like, this is something everyone can sort of relate to. So at least it provides you some margin so that people say, oh, wow, that's interesting. Tell me more about it. And the third and most important part is impact. In order for people to listen to you and in order for people to actually see the structure and for you to see the structure, you have to make sure that they see how your work impacts them, how your work solves their problem. If it doesn't solve it directly, because this is very rare unless you are, I don't know, curing cancer and someone unfortunately has some disease or something, it is very unlikely. So you have to make sure that you connect the dots between your work and their problem. Like, how are you contributing to the solution to their problem? This is something that works all the time. And of course, it requires some skill. It requires patience. It requires some ability to be able to tell that story and guide them, I would say, through the destination, which is eventually the end of your presentation, the conclusion of your report and your thesis, or in the best case scenario, the funding, right? That you receive the funding. So I want to really invite you to start thinking about yourself as a tour guide when you are talking about your work to other people, and you will see how this perspective will instantly make you shift your mindset from mess to structure. Learning how to do that. So how to go from mess to structure when it comes to data, when it comes to thinking processes, when it comes to actually how we organize data and information in our head, is exactly what I help STEM professionals with in my coaching program. So if you are sort of, this sounds interesting, but I don't really know what is this all about, I invite you to join a completely free introductory session with me where you can see and get a glimpse of sort of how this coaching looks like, what is it that we actually do, and how can it help you not only become great at communicating your work, but also in making sure that your work, your brilliant work, is seen, recognized, and rewarded. Thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, see you in the next few days with another video. Bye bye.